All right, all right, all right. I guess it goes hail to the victors. You know, Michigan put the egg on my face. You know what I'm saying? I'ma own it because I'm real like that. You know what I'm saying? But at least we got one out of two. We did pick Washington. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna try it again next week. We got one more game before the college football season ends. But tonight, we're gonna talk about those playoff games. Washington almost blew it. Michigan almost blew it. So all you fans out there talking all this trash, think about that for a second.
Very close.
Game of inches. In the association, we have a trade. The New York Knickerbockers making the news because everybody was going to talk about New York anyway. At least they gave us a reason to. You know, we're going to talk about the NFL. Week 18 is upon us. And whoa, look to the right, to the left. Oh shit, touchdown Baltimore. Oh, Baltimore just scored again.
Still scoring him. Still scoring. Right off 95.
But let's set this off right. Yes. You are now listening to the sound. Sports Reports is ordered. And yo, quick plug. Check out The Pursuit of Forever, my guy, Rajon Lewis and his wife, LaToya. Check it out. Facebook and all that. Podcast coming to you soon. But right here, right now, I'm sitting here with the one and only. Do not bring feelings to a back fight. Do not piss in his pocket and tell him it's raining.
Don't do that.
Get out of here with your soft tissue injuries. New Jerusalem's own, Mr. Logic. Yes, sir. And holding down the Alamo. Fresh out the hot box. It's 2-5. So, as always, we're going to start this off with a little something we like to call Get It Off My Chest.
All right, I'm going to go first. I'm going to be quick. I always said I'm going to be quick, but that, for real, this time I'm going to be quick. Yo, can y'all listen? The grown men of the Twitter sports world. This is who I'm talking to. I might get a lot of heat for this. I know this rugged exterior, this toxic masculinity. Sometimes I tend to preach. I'm like, come on, dog. Y'all gotta stop going to Twitter with these emotional outbursts, calling people out because the people don't even give a shit. I don't care, Jason Whitlock, what you think, because it's all negative. Give me some numbers. Give me a good storyline. Get a good conversation. Stop just clamoring for controversy. It's going to happen. Yeah. So you take a camera through New Orleans, you might get a titty or two might pop out. You got to be on it a little bit better. I don't know why people are so outraged. Titties come out all the time. You get breast milk from them. Like half the world has them. They just titties. Calm down. Whatever little porno thing popped up on Jason Whitlock's feed is like, dog, that's an algorithm that's probably connected to your search history.
Xvideo.com.
So if you searched up like pots and plants, you probably would have got like some Lowe's advertisements or Home Depot for pots and plants. But if you looking up pogs and milfs, you know what I'm saying, you might get some porno advertisements while you watching your sports. Diet. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes sports and sex is synonymous. It runs together. So they figure like, oh, you like sports, you might like porn. Obviously, your search history, your cookies are telling the truth.
Yeah.
Shout out to the FSU players who went to Twitter saying how Bama didn't deserve it after they lost when your team went out there and lost by 60. Like, we saw that too. I know it seems like something that happened like 48 hours ago or 72 hours ago is like almost non-existent now. But this 4K digital stuff is going to last forever. So we all saw that 63-3, ass whooping that your teammates took. You worried about a team that was 4th and 3 away from, tying the game up or potentially go for 2 and winning, saying they didn't deserve it. You lost 63, and then you went to Twitter about it. It's like, cut it out. Like, stop going to Twitter. Like, you look like Remember when we were in school in the 90s and it was like, oh, stop gossiping, stop tattletelling, stop doing all this catty stuff.
Yeah.
Grown men, y'all gotta stop doing this catty stuff, man. Just stop. Like, stop selling your beefs on Twitter. Stop. Just cut it out. If you can text this man, text him. If you feel like, oh, Alabama didn't deserve it, cool. You put out a little tweet. Don't think it's tough. It's goofy. It's a goofy thing to do. It's a goofy, real sensitive thing to do. And all it shows is that you're not focused on the right things if you're so concerned that some other man didn't achieve some goal and you felt like you deserved it, but you didn't do anything to really earn it in the aftermath. So it's like you just hating on somebody else's failure. Like, own your own failure. Stop running around here trying to be tough with your thumbs. It is the least tough thing you can be. You can't even shoot a gun with your thumbs. Like, this isn't tough, man. I literally have fingernail polish on my thumb right now. It's not tough. My daughter, hashtag girl dad. But yeah, just cut it out. Especially you, Jason Whitlock. Just cut it out. I'm gonna tag you. Just cut it out.
You Jizz Whitlock. You know what I'm saying? My man, Jason Pornhub. You know what I'm saying? Talking about, don't you want to be deep in this? I'm like, hold up, bro. That ain't just slide on your page.
Yeah.
That ain't just slide on your page. I remember one day I was sitting up in here and I was going through Facebook and this like little Asian, cute little stepdaughter popped up on my thing. And, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, I don't know where that came from. And she was like, what you been looking at? And I was just like, I got Whitlocked. I got Whitlocked. You know what I'm saying?
That's what we call it from now on.
Yeah, you got Whitlocked. You know what I'm saying? But yo, get it off my chest. I want to talk. I ain't going to call no names. They know who they are. You know what I'm saying? Out here in the sports media. Talking all this noise. Nah, I ain't going to name no name. All right, Casey Smith, for one.
There we go.
From Barstool Sports. Love you, Casey. Love you. This is not a diss. I'm just saying you need to calm down because Jaden Daniels won that Heisman Trophy. He deserved that Heisman Trophy. And no matter what Michael Penix did last night, you cannot take that Heisman Trophy away. You know, so now, I remember there was a point this season for about a month where everybody, we talked about it last week, everybody was doubting Washington because they struggled with Arizona State. They struggled with Stanford. And by the way, if I remember correctly, they beat Arizona State 15-7, and Penix didn't even throw a touchdown pass. Now, in true Lamar Jackson, Daniel Jones fashion, you know, Penix went 5 games this season where he hit below 60% completion percentage. You know, that's the guy that you're saying should win the Heisman off of one game over a team that even 2-5 told you that Texas' secondary was weak. You know, now, not including the bowl game, because, you know, he went off last night, but Jaden Daniels didn't play in his bowl game, so I didn't want to do that. So not counting the bowl game, Michael Penix, 33 touchdowns, 9 picks. Jaden Daniels, 40 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. And, oh, by the way, he was number 30 in the country in rushing when there's 133 FBS teams that have running backs, and sometimes they play 2 running backs. Sometimes they play 3, Air Force, Navy, so on and so forth. And he's a top 30 rusher in the nation as a quarterback. I don't know what we're talking about. He had a 72.2 completion percentage. You know, with those games, and this is including the bowl game because I didn't feel like doing the math, you know, Michael Penix was at 65%. You know, so that bowl game went a long way to raising that, by the way. Everybody in the media spent the last month telling us how injured Washington was, Michael Penix included. And now, because I told you last week, I got to apologize to Michigan because I said some bad things about Michigan too. But I told y'all last week that Texas is one of the biggest pieces of garbage walking God's green earth because they don't win titles for all the resources that they have. This is what they do. The guy was named 7-game Sark. 7 win Sark because he doesn't win more than 7 games generally. So not to take anything away from Texas. Great season. They went into Tuscaloosa and won, but beating Texas is not good enough for me to change my mind that Jaden Daniels didn't deserve the Heisman.
You can't take it away unless you Reggie Bush or OJ.
You know what I'm saying? And y'all not really garbage. You know what I'm saying? Y'all good, but just win something. Shit. You know what I mean? All I hear about is greatest job in the country. They could get a coach from Florida.
Should be.
It should be. Yes.
It blows my mind.
Jason Whitlock should know how porn works.
You should know to delete your cookies. And don't be posting your screen off like God, it's when you search for controversy, it's obnoxious. If you're doing investigative reporting, I'm with it.
Right.
I'm totally with it. If you're looking at like, hey, there's negative connections with the money and the voting, and you have inside information that XYZ person was paid in the form of a Corvette to make the vote this way, and somebody got a boat trip, or someone's kid got into a doctorate program or something, and you're uncovering something, that's journalism. But when you decide here on social media, just like, because let's keep it a bean. Is someone at ESPN going to lose their job because a boo popped out? No. Is someone at ESPN going to lose their job because potentially maybe your cookies are connected to porn or whatever the case?
But what if it was an ESPN boob though?
I'm saying, like, this people with this like Chris Rock's, the title of the stand-up, this selective outrage. Just like, you don't care. You don't care. You don't care that much. You just want to create this outrage. It's like
same dude that was outraged. Same dude that was outraged was looking at his wife's friend's rack. You know what I'm saying? Like same girl that was upset was trying to look at silicone on the internet to see if she could fill herself out. You know what I'm saying? Like, titties are some of the greatest invention ever. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's go ahead and get canceled tonight, I guess. Like, titties. But you know what I mean? It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. But moving off of titties for a second. We got a trade. Trade deadline isn't until February. But here we are.
Was it the Lakers?
No, it wasn't the Lakers.
Let's skip this segment then.
No, it was the Bockers.
Let's go to football.
It was the Bockers. The New York Knicks acquired, and I'm sorry, y'all, I'm still on my phone. You know what I mean? Like my printer's still out, so sorry, y'all. But the New York Knicks acquire OG Anunoby, along with Precious Achiuwa and Malachi Flynn. And they sent out RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickly, and a 2024 second round pick to their division rival, the Toronto Raptors, who they are embattled with legal battles with right now, too. You know what I mean? But, business makes strange bedfellows. So, Mr. Logical, are you feeling like me? Because I feel like the Knicks gave up entirely too much. I like the trade, though. I do like the trade, though.
I like the trade. I just don't know if the Knicks are really built for like a long playoff run. So I'm not sure what the trade gives you other than a guy that you're gonna have to give like 30. They said, like, I'm reading an article here on CBS.com. They gave by Brad Botkin. He gave the trade an A- for the Knicks, but they're gonna have to potentially pay this guy $35 million. When they re-sign him in like that non-max slot or whatever the case may be. So you can give a guy $35 million and he's giving you, good numbers, 15 points, like 4 or 5 rebounds, a couple of assists. And just like when I think about a trade, it's like I want to get exponentially better with the trade, or the trade piece that I get is like a building block. It seems like a lot of trades are for like now, but I don't know if the now is going to be that impactful. Like, you're making a trade to get the 6'7", 3-and-D guy, but what does that do for you February, March, into the playoffs in April? Is that going to win you a series? Is this guy? Is it is the addition of, like, that's what I'm saying? It's like I feel like the trade should either get you a guy that's going to make an immediate impact and make your team, prepare your team forward, or it gets you off of somebody else's contract that you didn't want to pay.
That's the key. So I got good news and I got bad news, though. You know what I'm saying? The good news is the Knicks defense should be slightly better. The bad news is Julius Randle get to shoot more. Even though he just had a 39-point game the other day. So, all praises due. But to your point, in 2026-27, RJ Barrett is due to make $29.6 million, and they haven't paid Quickly yet. Quickly's due to get paid. So it's either pay OG or pay both of these dudes. I guess is like the conundrum there. Now, for me, if everybody remembers during the NBA preview we did this season, I picked Emmanuel Quickly as the sixth man of the year. So obviously I feel very highly about him. Toronto gets a hometown kid in RJ Barrett. So theoretically, he should be motivated to play his best basketball because I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen his best basketball yet, I think. He's only 23. Quickly's 24. And it's not as if Anunoby is old. He's 26. But this is the problem. I had a guy in our sports group, Real Sports 365, shout out, y'all. He told me the Knicks won this trade because they got Kawhi Leonard. This is my problem with that. He's only 26, but he already been in the league for 7 years. You know what I mean? Like, he could probably get to a Kawhi level defensively, but I don't know if the offensive game is there to get to that level. I'm not sure the offensive game is there to see, say, what Mikal Bridges did when he went to Brooklyn last year.
Correct.
But
Mikal Bridges had the freedom because of
right.
But so that trade unlocked an opportunity for Mikal Bridges. Then it put Brooklyn in a position where they could say, oh, we have a guy who can do this stuff on the court. Maybe we get in a position where we can make a move. Like, for instance, if I know this is all hypothetical, but if Mikal Bridges, you see what he does, and you're like, you know what? We bring in a guy like Jalen Brunson to play him alongside Mikal Bridges because we know this guy broke out. We're not paying him much. Now we know we can go get another guy like a Halliburton. Granted, these guys aren't available.
Right.
We know that, I got a guy here who is he's posturing up to be an alpha. Now I can make a move that's going to help bolster my team. The Knicks seem to only make moves that either save them money or it looks like a splash. And I'm not seeing, like, I know every trade isn't going to have Kevin Durant in it. Every trade isn't going to have, every trade isn't going to be like the Rudy Gobert where you get 4 or 5 picks in return. But at least Utah, you're like, damn, why you didn't keep Mitchell and Gobert? It's like, well, at least we got some pieces back. And we know we're starting from the bottom. Whereas the Knicks, they make trades that keep them stagnant.
Mm-hmm.
And when it doesn't work out, then the frustration starts because it is New York City. Mm-hmm. It's literally the heart of Manhattan. It's a highlight city. It's a, it's the
city that never sleeps.
City never sleeps. So it's just such a polarizing city that I would want them to make a move that's really gonna, like, okay, this could make the Knicks do something. Like, I don't know what the Embiid situation is, but you need to make that move if you're the Knicks. It was good for Toronto to bring a hometown kid in because Toronto can literally go 30-52 and still probably sell out 37 of their 41 home games just because Toronto love their sports. The Knicks, people go there reluctantly because it's the Knicks, But you can't just keep doing this every single year where
Mhm.
you're just like, oh, we made this move. We got Kristaps, nothing. We signed
So
Marcus
right
Smart,
now,
nothing. Yeah.
so right now, to answer your question, Philly, is I don't know if this counts tonight or no, this doesn't count tonight yet. So Philly is 23-10. Um, they are the 3 seed right now, 4 games out of first. Looking at the Knicks, 18-15, and they're 8.5 out of the first seed, which obviously they're not going to get the first seed. I'm just, saying. But they're only a game and a half out of fourth right now. So like they can put themselves in position to host the first round series again. Now OG Anunoby still doesn't necessarily have the opportunity to flourish into a Kawhi because, as I mentioned, Julius Randle is going to shoot the ball more without
going to shoot the ball
Quickly
more.
and Barrett. But that's also good news, is because he's already a complimentary player because he had to play behind Siakam as the number one. So it's not as if theoretically he comes in with an ego of I was the man. Where's my shots at? So like you have
So
that
that's what I'm
going.
saying. So like where like because defense is not a you don't need just a lockdown defender. It has to be team defense. Like if you have a weak link defensively, they're gonna attack it. The
Right,
Lakers are a
Brunson.
good team defensively, but in certain situations, like you know what, we'll just attack Austin Reeves. Steph Curry's a great player, but they would hunt Steph Curry.
Right,
Even
right,
Luca. I remember a couple of series because Luca would always kind of lag off because they know eventually he's shooting so many shots he's gonna get tired.
right,
The team defense has to be the thing that is your victory, your
right,
rallying cry. So yeah, you could get this guy, and maybe he's your on ball defender against a guy like Bridges or Halliburton or Donovan Mitchell when he comes to town. But if he gets 2 quick fouls, now what?
right. And I remember before the season started, before I don't even know, like we weren't doing the show very long, but man, you had a conversation where I said, "What is Toronto doing? They're just holding on to Anunoby. They're holding on to Siakam. They're both free agents at the end of the season. So now they've moved Anunoby. Now they're looking for trades for Siakam because apparently there was a unofficial deadline of December 30th for them to come to a new deal. So now Siakam's going to probably be on the move. Emmanuel Quickly's probably not going to be the sixth man of the year because he probably will have to start in Toronto. And, but Dennis Schroeder has been expressing some frustration out of Toronto as well. So I don't know what Toronto is doing. They're 12th
They
right
might
now.
have to do the Utah Jazz thing where you just kind of move
And
all
blow it
your
all up.
pieces, blow it up, and get somebody young back, like the Sexton deal that Cleveland gave up to get send him there.
Right.
Maybe a guy like maybe somebody that's like you're not gonna be able to just always like make like these landmark trades, but
Right.
when the fire is out, just put it out, get
Well,
some more firewood, start over.
I feel like Siakam to Atlanta just makes too much sense.
But who's Atlanta? Like Atlanta has some pieces you might want back, and I don't know if they're gonna give it up knowing you're in a fire sale.
Yeah, you give up what? Sadiq Bey, DeAndre Hunter, maybe, some picks, because I doubt you're going to trade Trey, right? For Siakam.
You're not going to give up Trey for Siakam.
You know what I mean? You're not going to give up DeJounte Murray.
You're not going to give up Murray for Siakam.
Maybe, like, I don't know if Toronto would want Capella because they already have Pirtle. So, so you start Jalen Johnson, maybe, but you got to make the money match, so that's the other side of that.
Yeah.
But I think Siakam to Atlanta just makes too much sense because I was having a conversation with somebody the other day, a Hawk fan that doesn't want to trade Trae Young, and my point to him was, don't do the Deron Williams, Carlos Boozer thing where they're great players, they're good players, and you're going to the playoffs, you're doing these things, but right now Atlanta's not even in that position. So if you trade Trae Young, outside of losing the face of your franchise and probably a fan favorite, but on the court and record-wise, what are you losing?
Well, depends on like what is your end game. is because everybody's end game isn't to win the championship.
Right.
It just is all. That's
I
just
would imagine
hyperbole.
you want to make a conference final run. I would imagine at least
If Greg
win a
Popovich
playoff series.
training camp starts in what we call it August, September timeframe, guys are coming back, working out of the building, and you're looking around. You're like, okay, we don't have any definitive 3-point shooters. You saw some of these guys playing summer league. Maybe they have it. We don't have a point guard that sees the floor. We don't have a playmaker. What we have is a bunch of guys that can run our system. A bunch of guys run our system, but no one's really dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
That's 30. That's a 30-win team. Best case scenario. More likely, you're probably closer to 25. If you're a team like Phoenix, where you're stacked, you're like, we don't have enough role players, but we're stacked. If our stacked part of our team can stay healthy, we can get these role players in. We can be a 50 to 55 win team. Your team like Milwaukee with a star and then a second star in Dame Lillard and Chris Middleton, and the fact you just won a championship, you can think conference finals championship because you have championship pedigree and you have the players in place that understand that and can make that dream happen. Denver is the same way. Minnesota is making that run because they're young and they're figuring it out. But it was times the last couple of years where it was like it might have been a situation where they wanted to move Cat out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, especially that they made the Gobert trade last year. Like, how is this going to work? I'm like, well, just move one of them out of the way. People make it seem like you can't put people on different parts of the floor because they're tall.
I mean, Cat stays at the 3-point line half the time.
He won the 3-point contest. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not as if, you're talking about
so you have
putting Charles Barkley next to Shaq.
Like Trey, I don't think Trae Young's a dynamic playmaker, and I don't think the Knicks have a core like talent group that's upper echelon that's going to make a long run either. Right now they're 7th. Granted, it looks like a game and a half out, but they're 7th in the East. They're probably going to hover around 5 to 7. Best case scenario, end up in a play-in, and it's potentially could be one and done.
And that's right up your alley, right? Play-in game at Madison Square Garden.
I'm this year. I'm gonna go check one out. It's on the list.
Yeah.
But those tickets cost. Those tickets are like they're like a car payment.
Yeah. So I mean, hopefully the Knicks got some kind of assurance. I'm going to assume, I don't make that out of myself, but I'm going to assume that they got some kind of message from OG saying that he's willing to resign with them.
Well, that's cool until somebody dangles $38.5 million. And you're only willing to offer 33.5.
That would be kind of crazy to give up quickly and Barrett and then don't have anything to show for it for real. Except for, I guess cap space.
If you're offering 33.5 in New York City, paying a New York City tax, New York State tax, and Miami's like, we'll give you 35, and you don't pay Miami City tax, you don't pay Florida State tax. That 33 that you get in New York City, man, it's like 22.
Oh, Florida State definitely paid a tax.
They should have bought more Corvettes.
But yeah. So I guess, I would imagine, maybe not during the season, but I would imagine you would kind of be willing to maybe move Julius Randle at some point.
I mean,
because Mitchell Robinson's out for the season.
It's for some reason the teams, and I think the NFL does it. Like we'll talk about the NFL later, but I think Las Vegas did it last year with Derek Carr. They're doing it with Russell Wilson, Kyrie, KD, James Harden out of Brooklyn. It's if you could get in a room and say, "Listen, we want to move you, but we got to keep it in here." Because if you go to your people and they start going to social media, your dad, your grandma, your brother, your cousin, they start going to social media and posting like, oh, they told my cousin that he got, 2 weeks left in New York. When I'm trying to trade you to Dallas or I'm trying to trade you to Minnesota, they're going to be like, yo, we're not giving up anything because we heard from here that you want to get rid of them. So now I gotta dig you to Charlotte because Charlotte's gonna be the only team that's gonna be desperate enough to just match our number when we lose the leverage in the public. So
Mhm.
either you make the move quietly on the low, or you just keep them. And I think because they're a major market, you gotta have something for people to see. Like
Right.
The Knicks can't roll out there with the with the Detroit Pistons or the Washington Wizards or the Spurs, like that lineup. Like you need a heavy hitter. I don't know if Wemby's that heavy of a hitter. I know he was a maybe if they would have got the lottery ball and he would have gotten there, maybe it'd have been a little bit more hype.
Oh,
But
I don't even want to imagine that.
so, but you need. I mean, hell, he did most of the all. Every he was wearing Yankee stuff
I
most of the
know.
week. I'm like, he
Yeah,
not going to
hiding
New
all the
York.
baseballs in his hand.
I'm like, he not going to New York. Why you got all this Yankee stuff on?
You know what I'm
Like,
saying?
on top of that, the draft was in Brooklyn. Like, like Yankees playing the Bronx. It's like it's damn near a different state. Is so far apart. It's like
Yeah.
it's not even close. But that's neither here nor there. So without that kind of impact for that city, I just feel like I think it just was they just traded apples for apple juice.
Yeah, and I guess that means Toronto is heavily committed to the Scotty Barnes experiment, trying to turn him into that 6'10" point guard kind of guy and clear out the way, put the shooters around him and see what happens, So
Well,
should
they
be
got RJ
entertaining if
Barrett,
nothing
so
else.
they definitely get a good shooter.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you got a good point
That's what I'm
there.
saying. You got to do something.
Yeah, we'll see. But hey, next Monday night in the great state of Texas, over in H Town, in one corner, you got the undefeated Washington Huskies with the aforementioned Michael Penix, who is not the Heisman winner. In the other corner, you got the undefeated Michigan Wolverines with JJ McCarthy. Some people call him Andrew Luck, and I'm still waiting to see it.
He's just like 27-1 as a starter.
Yeah, so we're going to preview the game right now, but said what we are going to do is just reflect on yesterday. So so where you want to start? Which game you want to start with?
I'm gonna say something unpopular.
Okay.
The Michigan Alabama game and the Washington Texas game was not the greatest weekend in college football that everyone's trying to sell it as. Like
Agree.
I watched all of those games. I watched both games,
Agree.
and it was like it was all right.
I think
It was
last year's playoff was better.
it was drama at the end, but there wasn't a lot of it wasn't a lot of NFL prospects making impact plays because I don't think either team really has any. I mean, Michael Penix because he's already NFL age. I think he's like 24 or something like that.
Well,
He's been in
Dallas
college for a
Turner
while.
tried to pull a Ndamukong Suh move, or on JJ McCarthy.
Yeah, and then I mean, normally the Bama offensive line plays better. They didn't play great. Jalen Milroe didn't play great. Michigan wasn't converting third downs. People talk about the special teams miscues. Like, yo, they weren't converting third downs either. Same thing with Washington in their game. I just felt like it was like two games with really good teams, and it's probably like the first or second time they played a team like that of that caliber this year, and it didn't flow easily. I thought Washington played a little better, but I think because they have the position of quarterback, I think his maturity level is just a little higher, and their wide receivers are dynamic.
And I mean, it
And that
also helped
tight
that they
end,
were playing on turf.
they're playing on turf, they're playing indoors. The tight end was just he was snatching the ball out of the air. I think his name's Haverson or something like that. So he just was making those plays that were keeping a lot of these drives alive. It was a lot of tough throws. I like Penix. I like the way he was handling the ball. But if I just want to stay on the first game, Michigan, Alabama, the muff punts and the nerves and the granddaddy of them all in the Rose Bowl, I think that might have been part of it. But as far as like I said this to you last night when I was talking about Jalen Milroe, I was like, I don't think he's a bad player, a bad quarterback. It's just that I never felt like he was going to take the moment and like put his stamp on it. Like that 4th and 31 that he converted against Auburn. and he was coming off the field and he was screaming, "Give me the Heisman, give me the Heisman." I was thinking then we had a conversation about it. It's like, I don't know any other moment you had really this season that was positive. I have you didn't play well against Texas. The
Well, he
team
had
you
the
didn't play against USF.
he rushed for a lot of yards against LSU.
Yeah, but that was up and down, and then Jaden Daniels went out, so it was like by then, the win was out of sales for LSU. So like his moment then wasn't even his moment; it was Dallas Turner's moment. Get Jaden Daniels out of the game, like that was the moment of the game.
Right.
So it wasn't like he did this thing that says, okay, this is his hate, this is his two with a Devontae in the corner. I know that was to win the national champion, or even like Jalen Hurts coming off the bench to win the SEC championship game, like that kind of moment.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like, I don't know if it's just something he just has to like learn, and next year he'll come back. But JJ McCarthy took it down 7, 4 minutes, 5 seconds or something like that. Fourth quarter, down 7, needing a touchdown. 4th and 2, converting a pass on 4th and 2, and then the guy who got the block in the back called, number 1, a wide receiver for Michigan, on that pass, on that 4th and 2 conversion, gets the block in the back, moves the ball back. They go to him twice. So it just felt like that was JJ McCarthy's moment. I know it's they're going a little crazy saying he's the greatest quarterback in Michigan history.
Yeah,
they've had a couple other guys there play some good football, but like I said, I know Nick Saban said something like, "I wish I could have coached better, put these guys in position," and I kind of feel what he's like. I think he was probably thinking like, "Man, it was a few times where I should have pulled the offensive coordinator in or got on the phone and said, listen, man, I got like 5 running backs over here. I got some big tight ends that used to be offensive tackles in high school. Let's just pound this rock because they're killing us up the middle. Let's get on the edge. Let's get some stretch plays, some tosses to the outside. Let's get the ball into these." Because when they gave it to the running backs, those guys were getting through and they're making moves. Because a big Alabama running back in the open field, because they're all running like 6'1", 220, 230. Like they run some big backs at you. But they couldn't give him the ball, and they kept trying to just call Milroe's number. And it's like, I don't think he was ready for that moment. I don't think he was ready to take over that moment. I think if they were going to Alabama-style football, I think they win easily if they run that ball, because they had to kick the field goal to go up 7. I think if they were running the ball better and taking advantage of their size speed combination to get to the outside versus just running into the size of Michigan in the middle.
I'm excited. I just put a G League game on.
I got highlights from this season.
Yeah, I'm watching Ontario and the Austin Spurs, but I was thinking about this, and before the season started, I was talking to an Alabama fan at my job, and he told me, this is the year we're going to reclaim the throne, XYZ. He said, give me one reason why we won't win the national title. I said, I could give you 2. And he said, what? Like offensive line? Is it going to? I said, no. Number 1, Jalen Milroe. Number 2, Tommy Rees. Because when Nick Saban hired Tommy Rees in the first place, my reaction was, how the hell did Tommy Rees earn that job? Because Notre Dame fans been trying to run him out for the last 3 or 4 years. So as I went back into my mental Rolodex, thank you, Jay-Z, for that. As I went back into my mental Rolodex, Bryce Young missed a couple of games last year. Milroe played against A&M and Tennessee. That was the game, Evan Stewart, Jimbo said his name, all that good stuff like that. And all I took away from those games was, damn, this Milroe dude puts the ball on the ground, don't he? So it was unfortunate that his fumble yesterday kind of turned the momentum of the game around.
Even as a thing, they didn't even get any points off of it.
Right, but they didn't have to. They didn't have to because even if Bama would have got a field goal there, it's a whole different ball game.
It was still. I think it still would have been. It would have been It would have been 20-13 then. I just felt like Michigan. I think that the marriage between Harbaugh and McCarthy, an offensive coordinator calling plays for Michigan, would have gotten them back into it. Whereas you're talking about Milroe and Reese, I don't think, like I said in our pre-meeting, I don't think there was a conversation of, "Hey, coach, this is what I'm seeing. We should run this play and get this person the ball." Because there was a lot of plays towards the end of that game where they just kept just going to, we'll just go to Milroe. Like, even people talk about the snap is supposed to be an RPO. The snap came back quick. He got it and then just ran straight.
He panicked.
Yeah,
he panicked.
And it's like,
Bryce Young probably does something. The play still might not have worked, but Bryce Young does something that we're like, wow, like, one way or the other. And but when I was looking at this, we talk about Michigan's muff punts and their mistakes, but Bama had 3 or 4 snaps that he didn't get, like that,
the coming out in the second half. When you get the field goal at the end of the half, you come out, you're down 3.
They were down 3. Yep.
Get the ball, and they were moving the ball on Michigan. And then the old boy just starts snapping it all over the place. And Kirk Herbstreit was like, "You can't blame it all on the center." I'm like, "Yeah, you can.
Yes, you can." And if you remember, that's why they ended up in 4th and 31. Because the same thing happened. Bad snap. So this is something that has plagued Alabama throughout the season. Now, when it came down to it, I feel, and I don't want to be disrespectful, I don't want to take anything away from Michigan, but the football gods was on J.J. McCarthy's side yesterday. That pass that he threw that got tipped and Roman Wilson had to go Randy Moss in the air to yank it down. That's the type of stuff that you look back, if Michigan wins the title next week, that's the type of stuff you look back and you're like, that play saved our season.
But that's what I'm saying. That play, to make that play, is McCarthy locked into the moment. I don't know what kind of NFL prospect he's going to be, because I think
they love him.
I think he's played behind a very good offensive line in their pro style. I think he's played with a pro coach who's put him in position to just make good throws, smart throws, tight ends, good wide receiver depth, running the ball hard, like the best running back tandem in the country for the past couple of years. So I think they put him in position to succeed in that regard.
Yeah, see, I had a question about
that throw. Was like, I'm in this moment. Like, this guy's open. I'm getting the ball. Where it's like, he didn't panic. It wasn't a bad throw. He saw the rush coming. He got the ball up and out to this wide receiver on this crossing route. But that's him in the moment.
And I like my question one of my questions coming into the game was Michigan's defensive backs. Not because I think they're bad. I think they're actually really good. I just didn't know if they had played outside of Ohio State, if they had played anybody with receivers that put pressure on them. And they held Jermaine Burton 4 catches, 21 yards,
because they didn't. I don't think the offensive line was playing so poor for Alabama. Like, they couldn't handle the stunts. They couldn't handle the twist. And Joel Klatt said this on Colin Cowherd's show, so I want to make sure I give him credit for that. But he was talking something I said earlier about NFL defenses catching up to NFL offenses by having guys who were safeties in college put on 15 more pounds and play this hybrid linebacker position. And he said that what Michigan did was, you get real stout up front, you get good edge rushers, and then you go hybrid in the middle. Safety, linebacker, hybrids. So that's why they were able to make plays on Milroe, because you have a guy who probably would have been a safety, but you're going to play linebacker. You're going to come downhill. So when all Alabama's offensive line was getting discombobulated, that guy's too quick. Even though he might be 230, 240, he runs like a college safety. So they were just on Milroe. I think he got 6 or 7 sacks.
They had
And they had
the 6. They had 5 in the first half.
5 in the first half, but that's what it was. It was like they slide one way, and it was like he did a good job disguising it. I'm thinking to myself, how he stepped up from where he was. He stood over the guard, in between the guard and tackle. He stood there, and it was like Milrow has to do a better job of seeing that. And I was like, he's not seeing it, and that was
That's the
Bryce Young
problem.
sees that.
Right.
Bryce Young slides the line the other way. He slides left behind it, and then makes a throw.
How I was really nervous though. That first play of the game, another one of those moments. The defender's foot is out of bounds on an interception. That was just another one of those plays where it just seemed, even as bad as Michigan had it mistake wise, there were just a few things that
When
they
you
got
play
away
with
with.
skill, good luck
You
will
know,
happen.
and
Shout out to
yeah,
O.
because I mean, even that last muff, I mean, you're talking about inches away from being a safety.
The composure to be out there. I'm not the normal returner for this game. We've had terrible special teams, and in that moment, you make a bad special teams. You could have let it go. So not
Right.
only could you let it go at the 5 and just hope for the best, and they were like, "Hey, why didn't you field it?" It's like, I didn't want to field it inside the 5. I figured it bounces. You block the first guy that you can block.
Yeah,
Then
you're
you
like, good
play.
answer.
So, but he muffs it and then just grabs it on the first touch. Because if he bobbles it,
It's a touchdown. It's a safety.
it's a
Something.
touchdown. It's a
Yeah.
touchdown because he had his hand on it, but when he got both hands on it, and the hit was solid. Like they hit him
Mhm.
right. He hit him right in his ribs, underneath it, like right on the head of the ball. That thing flips up in the air. It's 4 Bama special teamers right there
Mhm.
recovering that ball. Game over.
Yeah.
So
That would have been a
yeah,
hell of a
it's
way to
just felt.
lose.
And
But
then the conversation today would have been completely different. It was like, is
but
Harbaugh
Washington
leaving to go to the NFL because he blah, 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 blah.
Washington tried to lose.
But man, so at first, like my original get off my chest was clock management, and I figured we were going to talk about this for a little bit.
Right.
So
Right.
Washington did a few things that I try to warn. I try to warn my own son about and his friends when they're playing their games. I'm like, listen, the game is going to end. And if you
Right.
have the most points at the end, you can talk, you can point to the scoreboard, you can clap, you can do all this other stuff. But I remember they had a game, I believe it was last year, against like a bit of a rival team, and they were up like this basketball, and you're up like 11 or 12, and they were getting hyped on the bench, just hyping each other up. So the ref came over and was like, "You guys got to calm down." Kind of messed up the energy. They end up losing the game. So it's like, well, you got to keep your focus on what's happening on the floor, on the field, on the court, on the
Mhm.
pitch, wherever it is. And I think Washington, they were up like 2 possessions for a lot of the second half because Texas got their touchdown off of muff punt. So they got everyone has to clean up special teams, but getting the ball back up 14-7, Washington muffs the punt. Texas goes in, ties the game. And then Washington goes up a couple possessions. I think they were around, we'll get the score right, 27. It was like
So it
27
was
or 28, 28,
it was
14.
21-21, then 28 to 14, 28-21, 31-21,
Or
right?
27. I think it was 27. Yeah, 27-14. So
Oh
they were
yeah,
up
they missed the
13
extra
points.
point. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so something happened, whatever. So it was
yeah.
27-14. So they're up 13, 2 possessions, and they got cute. They got cute on one drive in the fourth. Because I text you, like, it's 11. It was like, it's after 11 o'clock. And it was like
I'm
11:04.
about to be in bed. Yeah.
And the fourth quarter was just about to start. And I was like, I text you, like, I'm liking Washington. They're really letting this clock run. I could be asleep by 12:30 because I was like, they had control of the game. They were up 2 possessions.
Right.
They were
Right.
running the ball. They had the ball starting off the fourth quarter. They called like a not a crazy flea flicker, but it's the same one that everybody runs. It wasn't like you did like a special one. It's like You did one that I saw that Michigan ran earlier today.
Yeah, they fumbled it.
And then somebody else ran one. Oh, Oregon ran the same one yesterday. So like you're the third team today to run this. It's like you're not catching anybody off guard, and that was incomplete. And then, like I said, I was cleaning up, changed, got back. I was getting ready for bed. I was watching the last like 5 or 7 minutes of it, and Texas was calling timeouts to stop the clock with about, I believe, like close to 3 minutes left, 2:35, something like that. So instead of calling a couple more run plays and making Texas burn at least one more timeout, because in that situation Washington was about to go up 9. So we have a short field goal. I think they were inside the 25, maybe inside the 20. I think they're going to kick about maybe a 37 to 40-yard field goal. Their kick has been pretty automatic. They gave him a scholarship. It was a whole big thing. I'm like, okay, let's just run this ball, make Texas burn their last 2 timeouts. They threw a pass that was incomplete, end up kicking a field goal. Texas gets the ball back down 37
to 28.
28, goes down the field, doesn't use either one of their timeouts. So they still have both of their timeouts. Got a field goal. Now they're down 6, 37-31, kicked an onside kick. And unfortunately, the running back got hurt on the third down play. Like I said, it was the right play call. But in that sense, it's like, yeah, I know you want to put the game away with the first down and call it good, but if he gets fumbled, if he gets stripped.
Yeah, we saw Miami do that against Georgia Tech this year.
So you just, if you want to just, because your biggest asset in that moment is the fact that they don't have any timeouts and the clock's running. You take a knee with 57 seconds when they would have spotted the ball with 57 seconds. Right. 25 seconds run off the play clock. You're at 33, call timeout. Boom. Snap the ball for the punt. Hang time 4 or 5 seconds. By the time Texas gets the ball back, they're at the 20, from the 1 to the 20. They're somewhere in there if you get a good punt off.
And
they have
27 seconds left.
With about 27 seconds left, no timeouts. A quarterback that just was in concussion protocol earlier that quarter, and Arch Manning is warming up. So it's like they haven't been firing all cylinders all game. Now you pinned them deep, and they're out of timeouts. So
but then a personal foul.
Then you get the fall. Wait, what are you jumping for? A false start for what? False start on the punt, and then kick catch interference. So they almost blew that game.
I mean, Texas had 4 cracks at it from the 13 or so. And I told you, remember, we talked about this last week. Texas only gets touchdowns on 49% of their red zone trips. And they weren't effective in the red zone yesterday either.
I would have gone to Mitchell 4 times.
Yeah, 6-4. Throw it up. And you just got it on your previous touchdown was exactly that.
And the thing about that, so the original, so they got the pass.
Yeah, Jordan Whittington for 41 yards. Yeah.
41 yards. That got him down to the 28. Then they threw the pass to Mitchell, and Muhammad, their top corner for Washington, was out for at least a play. And I know Washington called a timeout. I don't know if they called a timeout to see if they can get him back in the game, because if you come off, you got to come off first to play.
Right.
If you call a timeout, you can come back in. I know that he was in there after they got to the 12, but I would have tried whoever they put in for him.
Yeah.
And just taking another shot. But they made the right call, got it to the 12. And then from there, I'm like, I'm taking 4 shots with my biggest wide receiver threat. Because at a minimum, I'm going to get potentially, you could get a hold, a panic, or maybe he just makes the high point throw. But they called a couple of bad pass plays. And then Quinn got the ball out with like 1 second left. And like I said, same thing Joe Klatt said. He's like, he could have thrown the back shoulder on that 4th down play, and it's a touchdown. But he threw it too high.
Yeah.
But they tried to give it away.
So, I'm definitely interested in this game next week. This is the typical offense versus defense. Defense wins championships. All the cliches. So I'm here for it. We'll get to the preview on Thursday, but I'm really excited for this national title game. Two different teams that we don't normally see. I do think that last year's playoff was better, though. You had the Cinderella, TCU with the 2 pick sixes, and then you had Ohio State, Georgia.
Ohio State, Georgia game, and everybody was like, I don't say everybody. The way they would talk about CJ Stroud, it was like, I thought he was always as good as he was in that Georgia game. Like the Ohio State games I had watched for all last season, I was like, I always thought he looked this good. Like, oh,
it was just narratives because they didn't beat Michigan.
And it was like, oh, he's really good. And it was like, that's when they talking about, like, should he go number 1 over Bryce Young? He was like, well, did you see him play against Georgia? Did you see what Georgia did to TCU? They were an online field goal.
Yeah.
And Ohio State's in that.
And don't forget the play where they were going to fake the punt. And Kirby called the timeout. Yeah.
Yeah. Because that was golden. That was open. I think, did it run?
They ran it, but then they blew the whistle after.
After they snapped the ball, like he was. Yeah. Okay, remember that. I was like, that's.
Yeah. So I mean, we were that close. You know what I mean? So like for me, whereas yesterday, Bama, Michigan, for the most part, out of the 60 minutes of that game, there was probably 17 minutes of good football, and everything else was mistakes. And
it looked like mistakes.
They had a month off.
It looked like mistakes, and it just looked like the game plans didn't match. Like, so it didn't jive. Like I remember I was watching, I was thinking like, why they were just getting beat so badly on the inside on the offensive line. Bama was, but then Michigan wasn't converting third downs.
Right.
Then they was something like 1 for 6 or something in the second half until, no, matter of fact, I only think they converted third down because they converted on 4th and 2 to keep that drive going when they were down 7. So it was like, it was a heavyweight match, but it was one with a lot of jabs.
Well, for half the game, I was trying to figure out if Blake Corum was hurt or something. Like give him the damn ball.
But
but also remember there was
Bama adjusted defensively because I think they just kind of realized like, McCarthy isn't going to slice and dice you.
There was a third down. I want to say it was maybe a 3rd and 9 where he hit Roman Wilson going towards the right sideline. But the throw was so errant that like he fell when he caught it. That was one of the third downs that they didn't convert. And he had nothing but space.
Yeah. I saw the one where they called it incomplete. Looked like he had a foot down.
Yeah.
But it just was like it just felt like they were filling each other out for like 3 quarters.
Like if they both played like if Washington played like they played yesterday, and Michigan played like they played yesterday,
then
Washington's the national champion. Yeah, like it's that simple. You know what I mean? But I don't expect that. I expect both teams to look. I think Washington will hopefully learn from what they did last night. I think Michigan can't play like that again, like with all the muffs and like that. That's once in a season.
You want the strengths of the teams to be the
shine.
Story.
Yeah.
And they talked about Bama's offensive line. It would be ranked as far as its size, like top 5 of NFL lines as far as size.
Right.
Like they had 2 or 3 guys that walk around over 350.
Mm-hmm.
So you would want that. You would want that element to win in some of those moments. And on that 4th and 3, like I'm not even sure why they even had an RPO built in because like you're not running it well inside anyway.
Right.
Like, the best case scenario, you should have had some kind of RP.
Yeah.
Like, you're passing it. You're gonna fake this or like
I'm sure
play action or something like that, where you just play action and throw the bubble screen.
I'm sure Bill O'Brien was sipping his wine after that. But but we made the point. We talked about it last week. Washington is not your typical Pac-12 team. They're physical. T'Vondre Sweat and Byron Murphy didn't get very much pressure on Penix. Washington definitely got to Ewers, but Texas didn't get to Penix very often. And
he just slid up. He
just slid up and made the right play, made a veteran play. But I was going to say, I've heard some people, like Brandon Walker, also from Unnecessary Roughness, making the point that Michigan is just going to push Washington all over the field and beat them by double digits and all this kind of stuff. Let's not forget Washington's offensive line won best offensive line this season too. You know what I mean? So
and on top of that, like we can't be prisoners of the moment. It still took a 4th and 2 conversion on the final drive for Michigan to even force overtime.
Right.
If they had another bad snap or anything, I know if it was the 5th, we all be drunk. It wasn't as if Bama clawed their way back and then Michigan reasserted its dominance.
Right.
31-20.
Right.
It went into overtime and it was 4th and 3, 4th and goal from the 3. So let's not give Michigan too much credit for an Alabama team that looked overmatched all day long, but yet still had the lead. It's still dominated the second half. Like, you keep in mind, like, Alabama didn't look like a top-notch team the whole game, but yet they dominated the second half.
As Nick Saban would say.
That one drive and then the 25-yard, someone called it the carnival of college football overtime.
As Nick Saban would say, people are falling for the poison, the rat poison. A lot of people picked Bama to win just because they're Bama. So now a lot of people are picking Michigan to win just because they beat Bama.
I picked Bama to win because, like I said, I thought that they would win. I thought they would win up front on both sides of the ball.
I picked Bama to win.
That was going to be the difference.
I picked Bama to win just off of what I thought was psychological.
Oh yeah, and I thought Michigan was not excited to play them.
Right, and because like I said, I went back on myself because I did pick Michigan to win the national title preseason. So I went against myself, but
you should have stuck with that.
I should have just stuck with it. I should have just stuck with it.
Just because you picked it.
Yeah, just roll with it. Well, you know what? Michigan winning the national title. How about that?
I'm thinking Washington. I like Seattle.
There you go.
Detroit Airport, but I like Seattle.
But a team that might not be winning any titles this year.
Grey's Anatomy, one of my favorite shows.
The Miami Dolphins. They might not be winning a title this year. They might win the title of team that scored 70 points in a game and gave up 56 in another.
That's not that far from 70. As you say it, like I think about it, like
yeah.
And they gave up 48 to Buffalo early this year after they dropped 70 on Denver. So it wasn't like, I don't know. I think Miami had a good run. And it was like
your reign on the top was short like leprechauns.
It just feels like they just, when it was warm and it was bright and every game was like, like between September and October, it just felt like they were just unstoppable. They were entertaining. Tua looked good. Obviously injuries come, but it just felt like Mike McDaniel was witty at the podium. Tua was witty at the podium. Like, I saw one thing with Tua was like the way he handled the media, and you could tell like the frustration kind of like festered throughout the season because he handled the media differently towards the end. But he was like, "All right, guys, I got to play. I'm gonna say it to you one time. Should I get 1 or 2 times? And then you guys are gonna repeat it." He was at the podium at one of the practices or something, and it was something like XY over Z split, Charlie snap, 5Y X 9 go 7-4 on 2. Great. He was like, "All right, repeat it." It was something crazy like that, but it was like fun. It was whimsical. It was like, hey, we got a lot going on. Like, I think he was trying to say like, hey, playing quarterback is difficult. I'm doing a very difficult job. I'm doing it the best I can. I think that was the narrative he was trying to show with that, but it was more whimsical. Mm-hmm. Then last week he talked about I keep receipts, and this was like, dog, you're mad at, like, if you win games, you probably won't get criticized, and if you win and get criticized, you won't care because you won. The only reason you're ever talking about you keep receipts is because you lost. And this was a couple weeks ago. This is before the Dallas game. So it's
Right.
like you can't be angry and mad and make it seem like people are hating on you just because they criticize you when you lose. Everybody's not gonna praise you. Even when you win, there's gonna be some critiques. But when you win and you get that dopamine hit of victory, you can come to the podium with your chest talking about, hey, I'm gonna say this play, repeat it after me. But when you lose, now you're at the podium all frantic. And I think Buffalo, they got that in the middle of the year. And I think you can just grow from it. And I think they figured out, oh, let's turn this around.
You know what,
And that
Chris?
makes them dangerous.
You know what, Chris? Just because I respect you so much, you know what I'm saying? You my guy. On my TV right now, I just put on Florida State and Georgia just so I can suffer with you. So I'm gonna watch this game right now, again, just so I can suffer with you. Because it's all love, bro. It's all love. We just gotta tell the truth. We just gotta tell it how it is.
Yes.
So when I looked at this game on paper, you were the one that said it was going to be a blowout. I thought that Miami would keep it fairly close. I thought Baltimore would come out a little sluggish, coming off the West Coast, coming off the high wind off of San Francisco. I thought they would just sputter just a little. And early on, like Baltimore didn't start slow, but Miami went toe to toe with them for the first quarter or two, or first quarter and a half or so.
Yeah.
Miami went back and forth, and I said, hey, here we go. Miami is not a fraud. They are here. They're in Baltimore. We know what Baltimore does to teams at home.
Yep.
And they're going toe to toe. And then I remember, right? We were texting or I was texting you, and you said something about MVP. And I said, well, Lamar is 11 for 14 with 2 touchdowns right now. And then I don't think 5 minutes went by, and I said, edit. 13 for 16 with 3 touchdowns. They're like, oh, hold up. By the way, he's 17 of 21 with 4
by then
touchdowns.
I was already watching. I was watching then because I was like moving around. So by the time I got that, I was like, all right, now I was watching. Yeah, it was they dismantled, and I think Huntley came in through a touchdown and that got him to 56. Chubb was in the game towards ACL. I heard him scream. I think was I?
Yeah. You heard the scream through the TV.
I heard him scream. I remember. Yeah. I've heard a couple of guys scream on the field. Remember Kenyon Drake in college when he broke his ankle?
Yeah.
And the play-by-play guys didn't realize what was going on because he was wearing white socks.
Right.
He's wearing the white Alabama pants. He was wearing white socks, and he might have been wearing white shoes, maybe black shoes. I can't tell, but it was like they just couldn't tell that his ankle was
his foot was the wrong way.
It was like sideways.
Right.
And they showed the replay, and then they showed him on the ground. You can hear him screaming like he's in a lot of pain. And then they realized on the third replay, like, oh, this dude's foot is facing the wrong way.
Right.
Stop showing the replay. And they obviously apologized. Like, oh, we apologize for showing the replay, but he's obviously.
It made me think of Gordon Hayward.
Oh, I forgot about that one.
It made me think of that one. You know what I mean?
I forgot about that one. But yeah, when I heard Chubb screaming, I was like, "Oh, this is bad." I'm like, because I was driving when I was watching it. I don't know where I was going, but I remember I looked down, and I heard him scream, and he was grabbing his knee, and then they went to show the replay, and I was like, "Nope, get my eyes back on the road." But yeah, so that was a tough blow. Buffalo, like, I might have been a little prison of the moment trying to be like, oh, let me have a different opinion when I had Josh Allen as MVP. But as the facts change, so does my opinion. I think it's like minus 20,000 for Lamar for MVP. So basically,
yeah, it's
you gotta bet $20,000 and win $100.
Yeah, it's so
that shows you how much of a guarantee it is. He probably won't play against Pittsburgh, which is going to be tough because that means they're going to get the bye. So their last game was what day was that? Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And their first game would be
probably 2 Saturdays or Sundays from now. Yeah.
Yeah. So the 20th or the 21st. Mm-hmm. That's a long time. But either way, like, I mean, I don't know what the difference is at that point because it's still at a minimum, still be 2 weeks.
Right.
So even if
Zay Flowers is banged up, so he could use that time.
Yeah. So, but
maybe Mark Andrews comes back.
I mean, you got time if you can.
Yeah.
I mean, you got at this point 18 to 19 days. Uh, but yeah, so Miami Buffalo is going to be tough. Like I said, we'll make our predictions later.
My
Kansas
man didn't
City,
even look like he wanted to
Cincinnati.
plant the spear. Like he looked like he was on Renegade. He was riding Renegade, and he was just sitting there like, all right, I guess I got to do this.
Yeah, they're riding around
Like
Tallahassee,
he
getting
wanted to
dudes
opt
at the
out.
dorms to play games. Like, yo, any of y'all can fit size medium football pants. Come on
Yeah,
out.
the chief wanted to opt out of
They're
the
like
spear planting.
soccer players and rugby players and lacrosse players out there playing
Yeah.
football.
So now we got both buys are secure now, in the playoffs. But what in God's green earth is going on with the Philadelphia Eagles?
Jalen said it a couple of weeks ago, man. It's like it's a lack of focus.
Because I remember at one point this year, I asked you, I think they had just lost to Dallas, maybe, and I had asked you if you were concerned, and you were like, they just bored.
I thought it was boredom. It might be the success because keep in mind a lot of the players, other than Graham, Fletcher Cox, Kelsey, Johnson. I mean, everybody else. I mean, Jalen Hurts has been there a couple of years. You know his temperament's going to pretty much be locked in. But a lot of the other guys, AJ Brown, new Dallas Goedert, he's been there for a while. Maybe some of these guys is like, oh, now I'm the reason you guys are successful because a few years ago with Carson Wentz, I wasn't here, and now I'm here. We're successful, and people just kind of feeling themselves. Guys getting out of position, guys getting beat. But there's no reason you should give up 35 points to Arizona.
Well, there's rumors that they may sit people this week, even though they can still win the division technically.
I sit the injured, people who need to heal.
You should still beat the Giants, right?
You should still be able to beat the Giants. They're literally going to run out at least two quarterbacks because Brian Daboll will. If you get a good enough, impact enough fight in them, they'll swap out the quarterback.
Side note: did you have a mythological moment when the Giants went for that 2-point conversion?
Once I was, like I said, I was moving the group, so like I wasn't really like sitting and watching like the games.
Yeah.
I mean, the NFL is weird. It's tough, and I think sometimes if you have a mature leadership group from the GM to president, player personnel to your coaching staff, if they understand the nuances of wins and losses, can speak to that logically without getting emotional, then I think you're good to go. The problem is, I don't know if their head coach has that kind of temperament. So when it's starting to slide off the rails, I don't know if he has the the cachet that can kind of corral all the personalities that are Philadelphia Eagles. Because when you play in a city like Philly, you have to take on like this brick mason, blue collar, tough, Philly versus the world personality.
It's not that different than Cleveland.
It's like, but Cleveland, they kind of
it's bigger.
They've accepted kind of like losing, and Philly, you can't lose. Right. So you got to be like that trust the process stuff. I'm surprised it went on that long, but now that they're winning, the expectation is to win all the time. Mm-hmm. So they'll let you ride, and they'll come there and support you, and they'll bark on you, and they'll spend the money on the tickets, and they'll show up to these games. But once you get the ball rolling, it's like an addiction. The city needs to be fed victories. And you feel that because you get it directly from the media. Philly's not a big city. like you get access to the players, you know where they are, you know where they hang out, everybody kind of hangs out in certain places. They live in the same kind of area. So they have access to the players. They do all the radio shows, the podcasts, they do their own podcasts, do their friends' podcasts. So people are using Twitter and things like that. These messages are getting to the players. And on top of that, they'll tell you right from the stands, don't drop that fucking ball. Like the Philly fans will tell you exactly what they need. And I think when you play there, you feel that. If you look at a city like I'll use Atlanta, look at a Atlanta game when they kick a field goal and look at all the empty seats on either end. There's a bunch of just red seats. They don't have that same fire. Like I sat there on the side of the Jeff game. I wasn't screaming at Arthur Smith. Even when the ref made a call, I just was like, whatever. Philly fans, they gonna let you know. And I think that you feel that pressure. And if you don't have you need a temperament like a Tony Dungy kind of temperament to make it a Philly. I think Doug Peterson was perfect. And I think the leadership group didn't match. And they sent, they fired him a year after winning the Super Bowl. That kind of stuff. Because you feel the pressure to be successful in Philly once you get a taste of it. It's like, oh yeah, we need this. The Phillies, in the World Series, we need that. We need it every year. Like people were livid when they were doing like the post game interviews with people walking out of the stadium. These guys lost in Game 7 of the NLCS, and they're calling them bums. You know what I'm saying? Like you win this game, you're in the World Series, but they, guys go 1 for 12. Like, oh, we paid $400 million to go 1 for 12. Just like that's how Philly fans feel, and I think a lot of the players kind of embody that. And when it doesn't go well, the Philly media will lean on you, and then you'll turn that into internal shit, and then it just blows up.
It's bad when your kickoff returner looks like a backup. Like that's the one thing. Like you should just fast. Like the one thing you should be able to do is run back a kickoff competently. But yeah. So as I was going through it, watching my Commanders, get slapped around by the 49ers, I sat around to myself and I said, only Mr. Logical's team could be out here losing to the Bears and still have a chance to win their division next week.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It upsets me. I'm not gonna
all because Tampa couldn't handle the Saints.
It upsets me. And if Carolina beats Tampa and Atlanta,
which is possible.
I mean, anything is possible. Snowball's chance in hell, but I mean, it's got to get there. I'm gonna be low key upset if the Falcons win the division. I need.
Not trying to play Philly first round.
I don't want to go to the playoffs and get my hopes up, nor do I want to keep the coach. Like
he's staying, buddy. He's staying.
But if he wins the division, I think that buys him 2 years. I think that gets him next year and the year after that because he's coming off a division win and a home playoff game.
So now I'm confused because, I know we like to travel through the league and figure out which coaches aren't coming back. But now I'm confused because Arthur Smith seems to have gotten the vote of confidence. It looks like Eberflus has got the vote of confidence.
Makes no sense.
So I don't understand, maybe this Belichick thing really gonna happen. I was on the Hot Box the other day, and I brought up how we were talking about Mike Vrabel, and none of the guys on the Hot Box thought he'd be gone. So I don't know where that leaves us.
I think, like I said, once again, I know I'm not calling for people's jobs, but if you just look at the history of the league, especially recently, Atlanta is probably not going to move off Arthur Smith because, they're a couple plays away in a couple of games from being in first place in the division. Like that's the way you can articulate that in an argument if you're advocating for Arthur Smith, either internally advocating for him or you are standing on the table arguing for him. But my piece to that is like, well, the game against the Colts was the first time they beat a team by three or more, like three possessions or more in his entire tenure here. And 17 points is three possessions.
Mm-hmm.
So you haven't won a game by more than 17 points more than one. I'm gonna say I will call it two times if I'm wrong, but it's definitely not a lot. You haven't scored over 30 points more than five times in 3 years.
They didn't even score 30 points when they won that game by three possessions.
It didn't score. So it's like I'm not understanding. The quarterback that we brought in, he doesn't have it. So what am I doing with you and him next year? Like,
yeah, so that's what I was going to ask
I got 3 years of you not giving me the offensive numbers, and I have 1 year and a quarter with him getting benched, turning the ball over.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Like, where do you stand?
Has a different problem though.
That's what I was going to ask you. Where do you stand on Desmond Ridder at this point?
Oh, I'm willing to. I would give him one more year if they can bring in a coach that's going to be creative offensively, because I think he has arm talent.
Mm-hmm.
I think he has good size.
Legs.
I think he ran a 4.65 and something like that. He was one of the faster QB runs that year. I think Pickett.
Man, I wish the Falcons would go back to these Georgia-looking uniforms.
They will one day when they want to lose games. So, and that's the thing is like, so if you're gonna give me a guy that's like maybe the offensive coordinator is working under Mike McDaniels, maybe he has a connection to Shanahan, like someone that can use these pieces that they have offensively, because I don't know if anyone's owed any money just yet, and none of them are going to get shorter or slower. So you got 200. You have three running backs that are all over 200 pounds. Maybe Cordero Patterson's still in the contract; he doesn't come back, or maybe you get a coordinator that can really use them all at the same time.
Yeah.
But if you're going to keep Arthur Smith and you're going to keep Desmond Ridder, then you'll be doing this again by week 7 next year, where you're benching him for Bailey Zappi or some other.
I don't get why they don't put Patterson at receiver more.
Not even just receiver, just getting them the ball in space, just doing things like having him and Bijan Robinson on the field at the same time,
right?
In a passing threat situation. We just got a turnover. Let's put out this package that looks like we might do something. We might run something crazy, but instead they just come out in the same standard formation. And I think that's the same thing in Tennessee. They just come out in the same heavy set and they just give it to Derrick Henry. Same thing probably with the Commanders. Like, they probably want to run these intricate routes from Bieniemy's playbook, but it's like
Mr. 900 Terry McLaurin.
We don't have the weapons for that. We don't have the quarterback that can make that happen. We being the Commanders in the
right.
So it's like sometimes like these guys are just winning the interview. And I don't know if the people doing the interview understand like what the personnel looks like. And they can tell you like, oh, give me a couple of years. I'm gonna build this. I'm gonna take this guy and get him to here. Then, like the fact I think about this every time, and I like Bijan Robinson. He just didn't need to be a Falcon, and it's not going to do him. It's going to do him a disservice if they keep the same core offensive coordinator, the head coach, and quarterback.
Well, that's why
there's no space for him.
Yeah, I was talking to when I was on the Hot Box. They asked me, hey, what do you want the Commodores to do? And and like obviously coming into the season, my thought was Bieniemy is head coach in waiting. Rivera on his way out, smooth transition. But now I don't know if that's something that the ownership wants to do. So
the ownership didn't hire Bieniemy, correct?
Right. So
that's never a good sign. And it didn't look like unless you're gonna look at the yards that Howell put up.
Yeah, so I was looking at Todd Monken, maybe, offensive coordinator over in Baltimore, but you got to get the quarterback to fit what he's trying to do as well. So a lot of people have been talking about Caleb Williams. I don't necessarily want Caleb Williams,
How does
but
he get to Washington?
Well, right now we got the number 2 pick. So if Chicago trades out, or maybe we trade Chicago, go 2-1. But yeah, as of right now, Washington has the number 2 pick. And of course, the Bears have secured the number 1 pick with Carolina losing this past weekend.
The Bears are probably in.
They're in heaven right now.
And they're gonna botch it because I read that they're talking about bringing Eberflus back. And once again, if I'm having this conversation, it's like, if I'm advocating for Eberflus to come back, who's leaving? Like, who's coming in to either help, or who's leaving is going to be addition by subtraction?
Well,
the way you're running it now, because think about this, they got Kmet and Tanyan, the 2 tight ends. You got a young quarterback that doesn't seem. I won't say he doesn't see the field well, because I don't want to be disparaging. But you have a young quarterback that sometimes it took a lot of hits his first couple of years in the league.
Mm-hmm.
So those 2 tight ends, you bring in Claypool, Mooney, and DJ Moore. It's like you can't make that work out. Claypool's like 6'4", 6'5".
Well, he's gone.
And that's what I'm saying. They couldn't make it work. They had to move him, and it's like, how did you not find a way to just get him the ball?
Well, this is the problem. Their defense, ever since they made the trade to get Montez Sweat, has been one of the top defenses in the league. Eberflus is a defensive guy. So theoretically, he's partly responsible for the defensive improvement. Now they're winning games.
Or was it the trade?
It was the trade, obviously. But it was the trade, obviously. But at the same time, this is what I always like to say: we can't have it both ways. Because if they made the trade and the defense still wasn't working, we would blame him for it. But now that the defense is working, we don't want to give them credit for it.
So they got 1-10. Chicago.
Yeah, as of right now, yeah. And there's like a big log jam. So like, this is going to move around some, I believe. Because the Raiders and the Broncos, the Raiders and the Broncos play each other this week.
So Carolina at 3-14 at best is number 1.
Yeah,
Washington, New England, Arizona have 4 wins.
Yeah.
Giants, Chargers, Titans have 5. Jets have 6. Atlanta has 7. Chicago has 7. Las Vegas has 7. Minnesota has 7. But if Atlanta wins, that moves them from – come on, phone, figure it out. That moves them from 9 to
like 14 or 15. Yeah.
Because like 14 teams make the playoffs, so like 18.
Yeah.
Because they'll be the worst of the teams that make the playoffs.
Right.
So not only will that not get the coach fired, you won't be in a position to get a top quarterback unless someone just smokes a bong on draft night and they happen to fall at 18. You're not going to win a playoff game.
I got it. With the 9th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Atlanta Falcons select J.J. McCarthy, quarterback, Michigan. Yes. You are now listening to the sounds of Sports Reports is ordered.
Quicker show.
Yes.
The beauty Chris, part of it says biggest need once again is upsets me. Quarterback, wide receiver, edge, cornerback, defensive tackle. I'm like, no, it's edge, defensive tackle, cornerback. Because you can win with Ritter if you can create short fields.
Well, you could win with Ritter if you just open up the playbook.
The wide receivers, you have plenty of them. You just didn't throw it to any of them.
Right. Like,
You just
Atlanta's
drafted a
not a
running
bad
back.
as I look at this, as I look at it, outside of Carolina, none of the teams in the South are actually bad. They just don't have good coaches.
Well, the thing with Tampa Bay, they don't have a lot of continuity in Tampa Bay. I mean, you got to keep in mind, you brought in a journeyman, former first overall pick quarterback, and they're kind of figuring it out. And they don't have top defensive product. And Todd Bowles, we don't know if he's a good coach. He didn't do great with the Jets, and then he hasn't really been dynamic in Tampa Bay.
Well, I mean, their defense is a lot better than I thought it was going to be, and he's a defensive
guy. But
guy.
Tampa Bay's always had a good defense.
It
just seems like a place where if you show up and you play linebacker,
you look at the roster,
you think about Derrick Brooks. When you come to Tampa Bay to play linebacker, you just kind of think about the history of linebackers.
Well, I mean, even now they got Levante David right now, but when you look at their roster, nothing knocks you out. It's just a collection of, I guess, players that buy in.
And look, some of them just were in a Super Bowl a few years back.
Yeah, that's too.
So a handful of them were associated with that team.
But when I look at the Saints have talent.
The Saints, I don't know. I think the Saints organization is just. I think it's still Sean Payton centric, and I think
because I never
Allen is trying to do his best impression of Sean Payton.
I never thought that Derek Carr was as bad as his detractors said he was. I never thought he was as good as his supporters thought he was.
They did Jameis a disservice by not really giving him a run. I'm like,
I agree. And they got Kamara. They went and got Jamal Williams, who led the league in touchdowns last year. They got Olave. Rashid Shaheed.
Yeah,
it confused every time I say it. It just.
I think they're tight end Jawan Johnson, I believe.
Yeah, Jawan Johnson. Yep.
He's dynamic, pass catching, can block. Physical.
They got Taysom Hill as the Swiss Army knife.
It's just like I said. It's the Mike Singletary, Jim Harbaugh.
And their defense ain't bad.
You get the right coach in there, and you get them to play a style that makes sense. You can have a coach that wants, I want to throw the ball a lot, but yet you pick the quarterback of the guy you went to high school with. You pick his son. It's
right.
He might not be built for that. Maybe he should be handing the ball off more. Maybe throwing 6 passes a game and not 16.
Right.
So if you get a coach in there that says, "Listen, man, you only gonna throw the ball 6 times. I'm gonna give you 6 great throws, though. You might be able to get 1 or 2 touchdowns out of it off the way that I'm going to have everything else set up." And the teams that tend to have these games were Chicago, 37 points one week, and they're down 34-0, 35-0 to Kansas City at halftime another week. Denver give up 70 points to Miami, and then they come out and beat Kansas City and hold them to single-digit points. That's the difference in coaching. Kansas City is pretty solid. They're on point. We know what their problems were. It's hey, they couldn't make plays in the wide receiver, but it wasn't they didn't have a game where it was you look up and they got beat the way Miami's got beat by Baltimore.
Right.
I
know, but you swore me up and down Cincinnati was going to walk up in there.
I thought Cincinnati was going to win because I felt with my rudimentary knowledge of coverage that the Cincinnati defense could cover the wide receivers, and they were up 10. Just the guy that wears 15, who is Superman disguised as a football player, he just makes things happen.
Yeah.
He and Nick Wright said this on First Things First today. He was like, if the Kansas City defense can just hold up, and then you can get 3 special plays a game out of Patrick Mahomes, he's he akin it to Patriots beating the Rams 13-3 in that Super Bowl. You got a quarterback, your wide receiver room isn't dynamic, but you have a quarterback that can make that Gronk throw. Julian Edelman was the MVP of that Super Bowl, even though they scored 13 points. He was this is my matchup. I think Edelman had like 14 catches and he was Super Bowl MVP. Like, so if you can do that, then you can win. But Baltimore's playing so dynamic. I don't think like the dink and dunk, play good defense, make 3 special plays in the quarterback position is going to be enough. But I think it's enough to potentially get them the AFC Championship game.
Mm-hmm.
If because that guy Watson, it was one play, it was like a deep shot they threw on third down. He had to hit both hands, and then this happened, and he had to re-catch it. I think Collinsworth called me. He was like, "Whoa, that was close." We thought it was going to happen again because that's happened more often than not on like that third. Oh, MVS, the ball went straight through his hands again. Like he was diving for it, but it went through his hands.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up because I was thinking about this the other day because I know that you've been beating the drum that Kansas City is pretty much going to be one and done. You know, so if the playoffs started today, they'd be playing the Bills. Now think about this for a second. So let's just hypothetical shits and giggles. Buffalo beats Miami. Kansas City Miami rematch potentially.
And Arrowhead.
In Arrowhead. You know, maybe the Browns. Maybe they get the Browns because I imagine the Browns are going to possibly sit their starters this weekend. You know, so if you're Kansas City, do you look at Buffalo, Cleveland, and have a preference?
If I'm Kansas City, I think I could beat anybody that comes in the Arrowhead.
Correct.
As doing this coaching analysis that we do here, I don't think any team going in the Arrowhead should fear Kansas City.
Correct.
I think every team going into Kansas City probably for the first time ever is like, if we stick to our game plan, we can win. Because in years previous, you couldn't just say, if we stick to our guns, we'll win. It was, we have to stop Kelsey. We had like that was your primary focus. But if you come in like, listen, this is our game plan. We're gonna ride it out. We're confident, so forth and so on. You can win because, like I said, some of those plays, like Cincinnati was up 10 on them, and it didn't look good. If you think about the 2 back-to-back defensive touchdowns that the Raiders scored on them, it just doesn't look like. And they keep talking about the running game with Pacheco. It's Pacheco, and then there's no other running back like him on the roster. Right. So you can't do the same things unless you have him. Like we just talked about New Orleans, having Kamara and
Olave, Shaheed, Jamal Williams.
The other Jamal Williams. You can run similar plays between the tackles and expect the same thing with Kamara and Williams. They might do a little differently. The Kamara is a little bit more patient, but you can still run those kind of plays. I'm not sure if Edwards-Helaire is out there versus Pacheco, you can count on the same thing. You can still run it because Edwards-Helaire is a short, stocky, very strong runner, but he isn't Pacheco. And McKinnon, I'm not sure if he's playing or if he's injured, but he's definitely not either one of those guys.
They might need to line up McKinnon at receiver.
Honestly, it might have to do some gadget plays, especially in the playoffs. Like I hope they're working on something with Kadarius Toney and they're just keeping him on the sideline so his confidence doesn't like falter. Because I haven't seen him in a lot of games.
So if you're Kansas City, you're playing starters this week?
Nah, because you can't improve. You can't improve, so I wouldn't do it. You can only look worse. You can only feel worse.
So you would be afraid that confidence could be shooken up going into the playoffs,
or just you won't gain any. I think you gained some by clinching the division because
they clinched it.
You clinched the number 3 seed. And then you sit back and you watch either Buffalo or Miami beat each other up. I'm not hoping for injuries, but a guy who should be resting his shoulder injury has to play, so he's a little banged up. offensive lineman has to tape 3 fingers together versus the 2 because he's out there playing, and you kind of hope that your team is more fresh at home next week in Arrowhead versus we got some good things on film. Just look at the film you have from all year. Look at the stuff that worked.
Well, the good news is that they get Miami. They beat Miami already this year as well.
Yeah, but they didn't score any points in the second half.
That's
and
true.
And the touchdown that really set them up to get them 21 points. I personally thought the whistle should have stopped for forward progress because it was pushing Tyreek back on the screen pass when he ripped the ball out. So any other time that should have been forward progress stop, but it wasn't. Ball got stripped out, lateral back, and they scored a touchdown. So that got them their 21st point. They didn't get a single point after that.
Yeah, so it looks like I might have to do a role reversal on Jordan Love.
Oh, same here. I'm in that boat.
He's looking kind of Aaron Rodgers-ish in some ways.
Yeah, come on, man.
I mean, he's obviously not as good.
I was looking at it too because I thought they showed a highlight from last year when he came in the Philly game.
Yeah,
and the way he threw the ball, and it was like, well, I mean, if you're gonna sit there for 3 years, like
if I
sat here and I just was the producer on this show and I didn't partake at all, and I just watched you, well, like I got to pick up something.
Yeah, I got to pick up some logic if I was sitting in the background, right? Like, you know,
what I mean? So like I got to pick up something. Like, okay, how do I get a different opinion on something that everyone sees? Like, how do I see this differently? Because that's the kind of stuff you pick up when you're around people who are doing it successfully. I think him watching Aaron Rodgers. I think the coach, and that's another thing, the coach being in place, not on a hot seat, offensive coach. They're the youngest team in the NFL. I did not think he would end up being. I think right now he's second or third in touchdown passes in the league right now. First year starter.
Yeah.
Future looks bright. If Watson can keep his hamstrings tight, those soft tissue injuries, he's missed 4 games because of that hamstring. And it was like a little end around.
And then every time I blink, I feel like Aaron Jones is getting checked out, so that doesn't help either. But, Chris, Georgia just got their first touchdown, so I'm here with you, man. But yeah, like, so they still have a chance at the playoffs. And that's what I was thinking about earlier is say, they get the 7 seed. And luckily Dallas is an animal at home. But if I'm Dallas, I don't know if I want to see Green Bay.
I don't think, because I think what Dallas does well, they can overwhelm you defensively. And Dak is really good. It's just they the Cowboys.
But I think it's one of those
situations. I don't think they got to go in there and lay an egg. They got to go in there and play poorly.
No, but I think it's one of those situations where if Dallas gets Green Bay, everyone assumes that Dallas is going to win. And that's usually the position the Cowboys don't want to be.
But right now, I think most people would expect Dallas to lose. I think people don't have that much faith in Dallas just because they're Dallas. I think people take all stats and considerations and positions just out of the way. Like, I think.
And we didn't even talk about that. We didn't even talk about Detroit. Detroit and Dallas the other day.
Man, people have been beating it so badly. To keep it playing devil's advocate, yeah, I think the ref saw Skinner run up to him, heard Decker talking in his ear, and went off to do whatever he had to do for the play. But even with that, Decker was covered up, so it was still illegal touching.
Yeah,
because he was covered up. Yeah, it was an illegal formation. He couldn't touch the ball anyway. So it still was a penalty on it because they weren't lined up properly. Even though he reported, and that's the big thing everyone's talking about. It still was an illegal formation. The whole the problem, probably a bigger problem, is the fact they didn't call illegal formation. Everything the whole thing was illegal.
Well, we're going back to Mr. Logical Special. Dan Campbell was damn sure trying to get that too, wasn't he?
Listen, I don't blame him for listen, we already won our division. Let's just go out here and see if this play works. And it would have worked if Goff hits the tight end in his hands because I think they got Dallas got
the penalty. Then Michael
jumped off
sides.
So then they got it back. For some reason, they go back to the 2. It went to like
Yeah,
between 2 and 3.
I want to say it was like half the distance or something.
It's just supposed to be outside. So it was like
it was supposed to be
illegal touch
5
was 5
yards.
yards.
Yeah.
Should have gone back 5. And then
Right.
offsides 5 yards. It should have
You go
gone back
to the original spot.
For some reason, maybe I was thinking the line. It felt like it was in between the 2 or 3, and I'm like, I thought it was either at the 2 or at the 3 on extra points when you got to go for it. I can't remember if it was at the 2 or the 3, but I believe it was at the 2. So the ball should have been back on the 2. I liked him going for 2 because it's like, I want to get out of here. I don't want to play another 10 minutes when my guys are locked into the playoffs. So I get out of here with a loss, or we convert for 6 feet for a win. I like
the point that I made was
if he needed that win to make sure that this week wasn't a do or die match between. Are they playing against?
They play Minnesota this week.
Playing Minnesota. So if this week was going to be a situation like the Buffalo Miami, and he went for it, where like now you got to play for your division life next week, then I'd be like, yeah, that's wild. But he's like, I'm already locked in. Why do I want to put my guys in 10 more minutes of football?
The point that I made when I was asked about it was, I just liked it because that's who Dan Campbell is. He was being true to himself. You know,
they would still have the job if he'd have stuck to those.
Yeah, yeah, like just be you. Like, you know, just like I always tell Lindsay, like, I ain't mad at you because you did this. I'm mad at you because that's outside of your character. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't do that. Like, so if Dan Campbell would have played it safe, I would have been like, what's going on with Detroit? So, yeah. and I think that he's okay with it. You know, now granted,
it was a win. It was a win-win because it was like either we get this 2-point conversion. I see if he would have taken a knee after they got the punt and just like, I'm done, I'm good.
Right.
That's not his personality, but he's like, let's go win this game. They got the touchdown. They literally marched right down the field, got the touchdown because once again another clock management.
Williamson.
Dak threw the ball out of bounds, stopping the clock. That would have ran out 40 more seconds, and Detroit wouldn't even been in that position to even have the touchdown.
Right.
But when he went for 2, I was like, that makes complete sense to me because
just when you think Dallas got something going, just when you think Dallas got something going, McCarthy's saying, I can mess this up. I can mess this up, you know. But Detroit still had a chance to finish with the 2 seed if they win that game. So, you know, I don't know if there's a big difference between the 2 and the 3 for them, but you know, you get the NFC Championship game at home if it works out that way.
Yeah, you would get that. The weather probably won't be a difference because, well, unless you San Francisco, I'm trying to think like what would be the perks. I mean, getting to the 2 seed would have been worth it.
Yeah, I think so too.
But
you know what I mean?
I think playing 10 more minutes. I think the 2 seed versus the 10 additional minutes when you are 6 feet away, I think that factor is like, listen, let's just go try to win it. If we don't win it, it is what it is. We'll hold serve on our first because we're going to get at least one home playoff game. We'll assert our dominance there. And then we will, you know, proceed to whoever wins their matchup or whatever by however it works out.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, they could be looking
the referee thing is people are jumping all over the refs. But I said you should have jumped all over for not calling illegal formation.
Yeah, I mean, at least they won't be in the playoffs, right? You know, the refs aren't going to make the playoffs.
At least, but they're headlining the Baltimore-Pittsburgh game. Might not matter. I don't think it'll matter as far as seeding.
Well, I mean, Pittsburgh can still get in.
Yeah, but I don't think Baltimore's going to play their starters. So
no. They might play my guy. Remember this name, Malik Cunningham. You know,
I mean, it'd be dope. But I think the referees like, listen, we'll let you ref this game because you got to like botch it completely for it to be national news.
Right.
Shout out to Mike Tomlin.
Yeah. You know,
Come
another
on now.
winning season.
Another winning season.
You know, still
He
got a
was trying
chance
to
to
get
make
him
the
fired.
playoffs. Yeah, still got a chance to make the playoffs. You know, they're going to probably beat Baltimore since Baltimore's probably going to be sitting people, but they still need a lot of help to get in. But I'm hoping that they get the help because I want Mike Tomlin in the playoffs. You know, especially, you know, coming off of this season, you know, with the bad quarterback hell that his organization put him in.
Oh my goodness. I mean, can you be more ill prepared at selecting quarterbacks than the Pittsburgh Steelers post Roethlisberger?
Well, the Steelers and the Packers play with fire a lot. You know, they're not the types that make these big free agent signings. You know, they try to do it through the draft, develop it, build it up, which I respect, but it's 2023 now.
4.
Oh, there you go.
Well, yeah, now 4. I don't see a scenario where like Pickett. I don't see a scenario where Pickett comes back.
Well, yeah, you saw the report. He's all upset because there was a report that he didn't want to back up Mason Rudolph, and you know he was calling out the report as bullshit.
Somebody said it, but it's probably like I said, it's probably the equipment guy. It's probably somebody that's so low level, and I'm just not trying to demean people's position, but it's like if I'm a reporter, I just need somebody in the building to say, I heard this.
It's the dude that would have deflated the footballs.
Or the dude that, you know, that gets Kenny Pickett's gloves or something like that. Like the guy who's always like, hey, Kenny wasn't happy. Like I handed him his gloves and he was like, I don't know what I'm going to use these for. And like that could be enough. Mm-hmm. Like that statement can be enough for him to go to some reporter for $500 or $1,000 or whatever the CI rate is.
I don't even know why I'm doing this to myself. I'm just getting angry now. But
the game every time I check, it was like a different another touchdown.
Yeah, it's the end of the first quarter right now, still 7-0. But you know, so I'm here with you, Chris. But yeah, so as we come down to week 18, you know, I love this. You talked about it last week. The NFL sets it up so that we have all the division matchups. So, you know, perfect. Washington, Dallas, you know, Green Bay. And I mean, this is the thing, you know, Washington has the chance. They're not going to. Washington has the chance to keep Dallas from winning the East. You know, Chicago has the ability to knock Green Bay out the playoff. You know, Atlanta and New Orleans writes itself down in the House of Horrors. You know,
I'm trying to like. I imagine that the Carolina Tampa Bay game is going to be on first.
All right, let me check it. I'm gonna pull up the schedule real quick.
Because I
think they're going to be at the same time. To be honest with you,
okay, if they're at the same time,
let's see what
I think that could work.
Yep. Let's see. Yep. Same time.
Both at 1:00.
Yep. This 4:00 window is ugly.
What we got?
You got Seattle, Arizona.
For nothing. Yep.
Chicago, Green Bay. Philly at the Giants.
That could be something.
Rams at the 49ers.
Carson Wentz versus Sam Darnold.
Denver or Las Vegas.
Jared Stidham playing against his former team against Aiden O'Connell.
And then Chiefs Chargers.
The quarterbacks are going to go 17 for 60.
And then you got Chiefs Chargers to end it all.
So Gabbert versus Easton.
Yeah.
Or Easton Stick.
Easton Stick, yeah, that's nasty. That's nasty. I might have to we'll be playing on StreamYard around that time.
Easton is a baseball bat company. His last name is Stick. His parents knew that. Why the hell would you name your son Easton? Your last name is Stick. I know stupid stuff like this pops in my head, but it's like, really?
Yeah. No, I am glad that we get the Miami Buffalo game, you know, in prime time, you know, at least.
I mean, if Miami would have won last week,
They would have sat their starters.
we would have had. If Miami would have won last week, and the NFL wants to make something compelling,
They would have put. Maybe you put Falcons.
Falcons sink. No, but you
well,
know,
no, because you need Tampa to lose though.
You would have Tampa Bay, Carolina as your primetime game.
Bears, Packers.
Just as a rivalry to see if the Bears can keep the Packers.
Yeah, because I believe Green Bay is winning it. So just like last year.
And they could knock some people out.
Yeah, just
so
like
all
last
those
year.
games would have been played, and then Green Bay, Chicago playing at prime time.
Yeah,
would have determined the fate of a couple of
teams. Like last year because that's what happened last year because Seattle
with Detroit
and Seattle won, which eliminated Detroit. But Green Bay could have still got in, like over Seattle if they would have won.
Oh, if Green Bay would have beat Detroit, then
they got in and Seattle wouldn't have.
But because Detroit lost the tiebreaker because they lost straight up to Seattle.
Right.
Okay.
Whereas this year,
that would have been entertaining.
Whereas this year, Green Bay has the tiebreaker over Seattle. They haven't played, but I think it was a conference record. So Green Bay has the tiebreaker over Seattle. So Seattle plays Arizona. They win. Sunday night, Green Bay sweats again.
Yeah, but we have a good one for the division. We don't have that Washington, Philadelphia, Doug Peterson getting fired situation. That was awful. Like that was a delusion.
Even as a Washington fan, I was disgusted by that.
Like you pulled Jalen Hurts and put in,
and for what?
And then he gave the answer. I felt like he deserved an opportunity to show the league.
Wasn't it Sudfeld they put in?
Nate Sudfeld, yeah.
Yeah. Former commander or
it got him it probably got him like 2 more contracts.
Yeah. So
he's like a Tim Boyle kind of. Boyle's done with the league though, I'm for sure.
And then last thing,
get another job.
And then last thing before we get out of here, you still got the AFC South up for grabs. Is Trevor Lawrence going to play this week?
You better play.
I would imagine he would.
Jacksonville wins, they win the division.
Yes. And but of course, depending on what happens with Miami and Buffalo, Houston and Indianapolis could be playing for a playoff spot too. So now this is the matchup.
If I can find my prediction notes, I don't know if it's in this one.
Oh, I remember my predictions. I remember all my division winners and everything.
Because I have it in here.
Yeah, I remember all my division winners. Saturday goes so well.
A different notebook for something.
Yeah. Else. So just to recap, I had Philly winning the East. I had Detroit winning the North. Sounds good so far. I had Atlanta winning the South.
Yep, that's what.
And then I fucked up and said Seattle was going to win the West.
I think I was staunch on San Francisco.
Yeah, you were San Francisco. Yep. Then in the AFC East, I had Buffalo. You had Miami, I believe. I had Baltimore winning the North. I believe you had Cincinnati. You had Jacksonville winning the South. I had Tennessee. And then we both had Kansas City winning the West.
Hold on. What the hell?
That's the way I remember it. Okay. So, hey, hold on. Let me find your name on YouTube real quick. What's that dude's name? I'm going to let him know. Saying like how we do things on Sports Reports is ordered. Let's see where you at. All right, so here you go. Kevon Nichols 1701. Saying this is what we do. We make our picks and we stand by them. If we are wrong, we are wrong. Because if you show me the person that's betting 100%, I'll show you somebody that ain't betting. So it's easy for y'all to talk while we trying to get these computers putin.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yes, we picked Alabama. I went against my preseason pick. Yes, I picked Tennessee to win the South If you picked Tennessee to win the South, would you admit it that now?
I had Buffalo, Tennessee, Baltimore, Kansas
Oh,
City.
you did have Buffalo.
Yeah.
I could
Then
have
I
sworn you
had
had Cincinnati because I felt like we argued about that.
no. The division.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I could have swore I picked Baltimore and you picked Cincinnati, and we argued about it because I picked Cincinnati to go to the Super Bowl
I
against
think this is
Philly.
after Burrow's calf was hurt.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay. I'm talking about day one.
My notes. This is my notes from September 1st.
Yeah, my day one pick. Yeah, my day one pick
was.
my day one pick was Cincinnati against Philadelphia. I had Philadelphia and Dallas in the NFC Championship game, and I had Cincinnati beating Buffalo in the AFC Championship game.
Yeah, mine was ridiculous because I thought Ritter was going to take a step up. That's when I had Kansas City versus Atlanta Super Bowl, and I was like, "This is stupid."
15-2.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I did, but I
Pepper
think
Farm remembers
this early predictor was Buffalo, Tennessee, Baltimore, Kansas City, Jets, Cincinnati, Chargers, and then I had Philly, Atlanta, Detroit, Seattle, San Francisco, Minnesota, Dallas. Those are my 14 teams.
Excuse me, I hit the wrong button. I was trying to get the mute. I hit the camera.
Yeah. So yeah, and then I got some notes from school in here too. But yeah, I should have learned something then. But I mean, at the time, pre-injury, it seemed like I know the Atlanta thing seemed like outrageous, but I felt that it was gonna be a better offensive output. I just thought that they would just score. I thought like, oh, you have this much. You already had Algier as a 1,000-yard runner. You brought in Bijan. Like I said, personally, I would. I don't know why they didn't take Jalen Carter when he was sitting there at 8. He was regarded as the best player in the draft.
Yeah,
especially when you just signed Calais Campbell, you just signed Jesse Bates, and it's like, and you had Grady Jarrett. Like, yeah, you can do so much when you can affect the line of scrimmage,
especially in that division.
Like and apparently Arthur Smith is a former offensive lineman. It's like, why aren't you thinking about dominating the line of scrimmage? Like, no, I'm just gonna like throw these stretch plays to the left and to the right, and then maybe Ritter with, and it's so just upset me.
Right.
But yeah, these playoff predictors, I saw one. I think Adam posted it, Black Adam. Someone posted like the division winners, like a parlay, like $100 parlay.
Yeah.
Like 63 grand, but the cash out was 1,600.
Yeah.
And he had Atlanta as one of the division winners.
I saw that.
Cash out.
Cash out, buddy.
Cash out, man. Get you 1,600.
But yeah, shout out.
Else. Yeah, it was somebody else. It's two teams that needed help to win, for him to win his bet.
Yeah, shout out to Black Adam. You know what I'm saying? Check out Black Adam on YouTube. You know, he was in the hot box with me. You know, he turned me into Stephen A. Smith. You know, I'm not proud to admit that, but you know, he has that effect on me. You know, he will be coming to you on Sports Reports as ordered sometime in the near future. You know what I'm saying? 2024 is a new year, so expect some new things from Sports Reports as ordered. Yeah, we in the lab cooking it up. You know what I'm saying? Biggest movement since Dipset, trying to reach that Wu-Tang level.
Keep up the views. Our viewership went up 1,000%.
Yes, sir.
From November, December, now already into 2 days into January. So applause to all the people sharing.
Sir. Chris. Yes, thank you for making your presence.
I know Chris pays attention because Chris will hit me with something I'd say an hour 15 of the show. And I'm like, this is really listening all the way through.
I know.
Shout out to the people really looking out for us.
Yeah, that was the first thing I saw. I woke up Sunday morning and you know, it was all quiet. Football games going on. Then about mid-third quarter, he sent me the message talking about middle fingers, you know.
Chris is on it, man. Respect.
You know what I'm saying? Respect. You know what I'm saying? Keep sharing it. You know, like I said, check out The Pursuit of Forever. My guy, Rajon Lewis. You know, keep your eye out for the hot box as well. You know what I'm saying? You might see some more collabs in the near future. So, you know, Sports Report is ordered. Coming at you. We in your grill. We in your ears. We in your everything. You know what I'm saying? 2024. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, every time I be wanting to be like, it's my year. I just think about how Jay Hood said that every year. You know what I'm saying? So I ain't even going to say it's our year. I'm just going to be like, yo, we in the building.
Taking possibilities and making them happen.
Yes, sir. You know what I'm saying? Sports Reports is ordered. Hey, Grandma. You know what I'm saying? We out here. So, yo, thank you for listening again. We'll be back at it Thursday. We'll have these NFL predictions. We will predict the national title game, Michigan versus Washington. And we're going to have much, much more for you throughout the week. So we love you, America. Hold it down. We're going to hold you down. And we love you. Happy New Year out there, you filthy animals. Peace.